The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the show that disconnects the dots, colors outside the lines. Say it with me, ladies and gentlemen, and thinks outside the box. Well, today, our guest is going to do just that. Look how handsome he is. He makes me look like a toad. So his name is Jim Winner. Look, even your last name is I'm a winner.
Pick the video.
All right. Jim's an interesting cat, and we have some things in common. One of which is we're both hypnotists. So, Jim, as you listen to me and you hear the sound of my voice only as fast as a feeling of ease begins to arise, I can't say where that's going to happen, and nobody knows how that will take place. Anyway, it's great to
I
have you.
appreciate that.
Jim has encountered my content before. It's an open secret that I'm also, or at least I used to be, Ross Jeffries' master at pickup. So Jim is a Chicago-based entrepreneur, educator, licensed therapist, good for you, whose work spans legal empowerment, financial freedom, and mind-body mastery. All right, mind-body mastery doesn't have a clear definition for me. So what is your definition, Jim Winner, of mind-body mastery? Does that mean I can think these biceps and they're getting bigger, or what?
Absolutely. You think about it first, and then you go to the gym. I think that would be the
I'm a
best way to do
trainer who kicks my ass, but yeah, I get it.
it. Indeed. And I think, the concept of mind-body mastery is really controlling your own states. We know a lot about this from NLP, learning how to deal with your own states so that you're in a proper place when you're doing anything, whether it's going to the gym or getting motivated before you go to the gym. A lot of times I wake up in the morning and I know I need to go to the gym and I don't want to. It's
Right.
not something I want to do. And being able to muster that motivation anyway and get out there is, I think, a good idea to know how to do that. And a lot of people don't. And so I help people learn that sort of stuff.
And your modalities for doing that are neurolinguistic programming,
I
and
love that.
hypnosis. So let's talk a little bit about that, because NLP and hypnosis have been passions of mine for, God, since 1988. So that's what, I don't even want to go into that. It's almost 40 years, long time. I'm dating myself here. And that's all I do is date myself. No, let's not
Ah,
do that.
I get that.
All right. Okay. So you actually studied you're president of Professional Litigant Incorporated. You build cutting edge legal training programs, and with neuroscience, you integrate NLP, hypnosis, and psychometric profiling. All right. You had me with NLP, you had me with hypnosis. What do you, Jim Winner, mean by psychometric?
Well, I think that so for me, when I'm thinking about teaching people at different levels, things like law and stuff like this, I think it's important to understand that there are lots of different people learn in many different ways. People are more auditory or visual learners and things like this. And so, we've taken a lot of data from people through my program called Just Us Bridge, which has been online for about 3 years now. And we use that data to get psychometric data about our consumers. And then when we put our products together, which is basically a late night satirical news show that trains people how to do the law.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That's hilarious. You have a late night satirical
News show.
news
Something,
show? How
yes, like,
late is late night?
well, that's the format. So I mean, it's a late night satirical show, news show format that we use in order to train people in the law.
Okay, now this is done in person when they come in, or
Oh no, that'd be too crazy. So we record it all, in my studio, and then we put the courses online for people to consume.
okay, so you are helping people pro se represent themselves. I'm assuming this is only civil matters that you would never ever advise someone to go pro se in a criminal matter, like something that's a felony. That was something you would say, get an attorney.
It depends, really. I know, one is not supposed to say that, but if it's your neck in the noose and you're skilled enough. I think that the founders set up this system so that one can represent themselves against the state. I don't like so I don't necessarily advise people to do that, but I'll give them the skills to do it, and then they have to make that choice themselves. That's not
Now,
for me.
are you an attorney yourself or a former attorney?
I've never been an attorney once in my life, as odd as
Oh,
that.
okay, because my last guest is an attorney who helps attorneys who hate the profession get out of the profession.
That's pretty cool.
All right, so pro se. How about if you're being prosecuted by the federal government? Then I want as much money as I have poured into a defense team because their conviction rate is like 95%, is it not?
Yeah, it's something up there. They have all the resources in the world and about 200 years of experience at doing what they do. Maybe 250 now. I don't know how long the department's been around. So again, it's the same thing. I think that you should have the knowledge either way about how these things work. And I think that's beneficial whether you're going to have an attorney or not. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't trust attorneys or their own attorneys. This is kind of normal in our society. And I think being able to communicate with your attorney on their level will give you more peace of mind, at least about the process. So again, I don't advocate for people to go and represent themselves in a federal criminal case, but I do advocate people having the knowledge about how these things work
Yes.
at a deeper.
Yes. Yes, very important. I'm a former litigation paralegal. I would say that everyone should take at least a 6 month training at night if they need to, and how the civil side of the law works. So in case they ever get sued, they have that in their back pocket. But let's talk about the process. So someone comes into you and you have this satirical show. How do you teach them things like discovery, the elements of discovery, propounding interrogatories, and all this other stuff? How do you how do you combine? Here's what I'm trying to get at. How do you combine the psychological aspects, hypnosis, NLP? Are you telling people how to use that in the courtroom, or how to use that on themselves to build their confidence, or both? Because I've had attorneys approach me, they never put money on the table saying, can you teach me how to use this to win trials? Or, all right, write me a check. And they never do. So that never takes off.
Well, first off, I'm one of the few people that I know of that's licensed by Richard Bandler's society here to train lawyers in NLP for law. So that's something.
Oh,
So that's something I do on occasion. But to your question, in the Just Us Bridge show or the Just Us Bridge program, where we teach regular people in Illinois how to represent themselves in court, I use NLP techniques in the videos. So we're talking about nested loops, embedded commands, things like
right.
this, get the information into them better. And but not how to use NLP in court. I reserve that for, I guess, more big ticket clients.
For your what client? It sounded like something else.
Big ticket.
All right, that's not what I heard. I'm not joking. Jim, I am not joking. Replay this, and when you said that, you'll see my face go, what?
That's a,
What? What the we swear on this show. What the fuck?
I,
Like,
I fucking hear you. Sorry about that. I don't know
but
what's
you can train people to do it.
absolutely. I think that knowing like the meta model for interrogating or depositions, or obviously rapport building with juries and judges, and of course the Milton model when arguing. I think all of those things come in very.
So for those of us, uh, Jim and I understand what we're talking about. What the Milt model is Bandler and Grinder modeled different therapists, and Milton Erickson, I think, was a lot of NLP is just Milton funneled through Richard and John, Richard Bandler and John Grinder. And Milton used to talk very vaguely. And when you speak vaguely, the audience has to fill in the blanks for themselves, and it makes you sound a lot more coherent and persuasive than you really are. What was the impetus for starting this business?
So, my backstory is that I learned the law the hard way, which is I'm self-taught. So, I won't get into doing too much bashing here, but I got into a 9 year
Bash away.
I got into a 9 year custody battle, for my son. And when I say 9 years, I mean we were in court every few weeks for 9 years straight. And I didn't have money at the time. I had no skill in the law. So I had to go pro se. Every once in a while I'd get the money together to hire an attorney, put down the retainer, and then run out of money and be back at square one. So I decided that I'm gonna have to learn the law, and my money problems, were vast. I wasn't great with money or credit and stuff like this. So I had horrible credit, all sorts of things. This turned out to be an opportunity because I had a bunch of debt collectors and crazy stuff going on. When I researched the law, it turns out that they owed me a bunch of money. So I decided to teach myself the law by suing banks and credit card companies and debt collectors because those cases moved a lot faster and I had a lot of them. So
Why
I
did they owe you money? They were violating the rule, violating the law on how to collect.
Yeah, violating the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act or the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, automated calls, all sorts of things. And so I started filing lawsuits left and right in order to sharpen my sword, so to speak, so I could learn the law, learn how courtroom procedure works, motions, just going through all that. And in the process, I made money doing it. So, from these settlements and stuff like this. And then ultimately, once I gained the skill, I won the custody battle. But then I had this set of skills. And of course, when you're that person and you're not, family and friends come to you constantly, like, how does this work? What are you going to do? Help me out. I'm not a lawyer. I can't do this for you. I can show you how to do it. And in that, I realized that there was a need to teach people this stuff and that I was capable of doing it. So that was probably a good idea to put together Professional Litigant. And originally it was just free for people fighting custody battles, how to civil procedure.
I can't imagine the toll that took on you psychologically to fight to see your son. I can't, I've never been married. I've never had children precisely because I've heard these horror stories. I had a friend who was my attorney at the time, and he said, Paul, if you ever even begin to think of getting engaged, getting married, you're going to walk the halls of family court with me for a week and see what goes on. I said, you don't need to convince me. I saw my parents' marriage.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it was a tough one. I feel the worst for my son, of course, who I'm sure if he knew what we were in this interview, he'd say hi. He knows about you too. Uh,
Oh, because he's a fan of Ross Jeffries.
Fan of Ross Jeffries. So,
Okay, well, tell him I said, good, keep going and pass it on to the next generation.
yeah, that's the worst part of it. What happens to the children in these?
But I'm assuming you got custody at the end of the 9 years.
I sure the fuck did.
I love it.
Plus, they ended up homeschooling him, which I'm sure he didn't like too much, but got him out of the school system. So
Good for you. That must have been so rewarding when you finally got that motion saying granted, and your wife and her lawyer probably left the courtroom.
yeah, no doubt. They were pretty pissed, and I won't get into the details about how pissed they were, but they were pissed, and the rest is history. So he was 12 when that happened.
I'm so sorry he went through that, but
Yeah, so am I, really.
so what are I'm just thinking when I was a paralegal, the thing that I enjoyed most is thinking analytically and thinking logically. If this is the case, then this must be the case. And in order for this to be true, that has to be true. I was a litigation paralegal and we did legal malpractice defense and medical malpractice defense. So I would have to look at the cause of action and say, what documents can I find that would show that the case never had any merit to begin with, so it doesn't make a difference.
So
So, how do you teach people who just don't think analytically to think analytically, which is what they're gonna have to do if they represent themselves?
that is definitely a tricky part. I think that, I think most people can think analytically. What I do is I structure our course in the way that a pro se is going to experience court. So it's not like, because I've never been to law school, so I wouldn't know how they teach it there, right? I do know how to practice civil procedure, and I know what my experience was and what I needed to know and when. What happens when you get served papers or if you want to initiate a lawsuit. And so I structure the course in that way, in the logical progression that's going to occur as you go through court. That's one thing. So people can go to video one and be like, this is the beginning of this lawsuit. I need this information here. And then of course, within that video or that set, it's also done in that way. So, basically outlines and stuff like this. And my hope is, and it seems to bear out, that people, when they go through our process, they'll have, because we don't dumb down the stuff. We make it funny,
You
but
can't.
we make sure that we use real legal terminology. We show them real examples of what's going on, real world examples of how these things work in news stories from other court cases that are going on. We use like magic words and stuff like this. If I use a word like discovery, something pops up and it says magic word, and we give them a definition for these types of things. And my hope is that once we put all this in front of people, that they'll build this within themselves to have the structure to deal with it logically. I mean, I can't do everything for them.
No, I've been in that position of being pro se and always won, but one of them, no, I had to hire, I had to hire attorneys. I wound up winning, but the other person had no money. So the attorneys got $48,000 and I got them to stop doing what they were doing. They were interfering with my business and slandering me. I I just got them to agree to stop the activity that they were doing. But I understand there's no way with the complexity of that case and my personal involvement. Here's the question I really want to ask you. If someone is in a lawsuit, particularly when you were going through your custody battle, how do you set the emotions aside? Because if you get emotional and like, I'm going to get this person, then you're not going to have the cognitive real estate to put together what you need to do analytically. So do you teach that, putting the emotions aside?
I do, and it is extraordinarily important. And this is where NLP comes in, being you know, for myself, literally, it looks a little bit schizophrenic. It's not as funny as on the TV shows when the person is running back and forth from the lawyer's table to the witness stand and and interviewing themselves. But I'll refer to myself in the third person. Mr. Winner is having these types of problems, and are you sure? When did you see Mr. Winner do X, Y, and Z? This sort of kind of lowers the emotional impact for me.
I get it.
But I
It's
also,
just,
Sure.
it's a dissociation. You have to, yeah.
You have to some degree, but I also teach people that, you want to be, even there's a benefit to being in your own case that beats the lawyers almost every time. And it's because you know the intricacies of your case that lawyers don't know. As much as you want to, and as much as the lawyer wants, your own lawyer wants to get all the information from you, they won't have it. And there's no way to transfer it all. And those little nuances that come up about maybe, the time of day, the date, what was said in what order, that a lawyer doesn't have at the ready because it's not in their memory. And you have those details, and so you're able to pivot really quickly if a motion comes up or someone says something in court that's not exactly accurate. You have you definitely have an upper hand in that regard. But I do teach people to be gentlemen adversaries with their opponents. The other side's lawyers aren't emotionally invested. And I try to have fun with them. I talk to them like, whatever, how's you want to go out for drinks, this kind of thing. And try to be friendly with them as much as possible because they're just doing their job. And all of these strategies kind of help, I think, to make the process more smooth, because you don't want to be you're going to have emotions about something like a custody case. You're going to have less emotions probably about something related to debt collectors, right? But you do need to set those aside because ultimately, if you're in the courtroom screaming or yelling or losing your temper or losing your analysis or your points, then you're going to have a problem. But
have you ever thought of distributing the video of this satirical TV show, or do you distribute it? Is it available for sale? How do people get their hands on it?
Well, it is. Well, again, I do a lot of stuff for free, so the entire course is online. I know. I'm working on it. I swear, yeah, I am. But my thing is I really do believe that people need this information, and so in here in Illinois, I got a grant in order to put this program together to give it. So so you can go to justusbridge.law and learn this stuff. The law there is more Illinois centric than.
Spell that, because it's a little play on words.
Yes, just us. So JUSTUS bridge.law.
And I think that is the perfect place to conclude today. We have pretty much reached the end of our time. However, two things. Again, you just answered my normal question, which is how do people stay in a conversation with you? I do want you to stay with me in the green room and have a brief little chat. So our guest has been Jim Winner. He is a winner. And tell your son that RJ says hello. And if he ever wants to get an autograph sometime, it's $150 because I am in the tribe. I can make that joke. See, you can't, but I can. All right. Let me see, because this is all right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a great episode. We have a little thing. We don't edit here. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in, and remember, to the hostile alien armada hovering in your cloaked spaceships just outside of Earth's atmosphere, eat the Canadians first. And we'll see you on the next episode.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode.